Welcome back to the channel, and in this video we are going to install a NAS, a network attached storage, and we're going to do that on a bare metal computer. I'm using an old vintage computer, and let's see how we do that. Now, first of all, let's have a look what a NAS is exactly. It's a network attached storage, a file level computer data storage server connected to a computer network, providing data access to a group of clients, and often arranged into logical redundant storage containers or redundant array of independent disks. Now, what does that simply mean? That means that, for example, here we have a NAS with multiple hard drives inside attached to a network, and then you can access your hard drives from the network. Yeah, so as that could have a lot of advantages. For example, you can work from home and access the NAS from abroad. Of course, you can also access them if you are home and you have your own NAS. You can access those files. Also, large chunk of files can be put on there. You can install a RAID 0. If you got critical data, you can install a RAID 1, which is a mirror. If one hard drive fails, another one is still active to be your backup. Now, let's have a look at our bare metal NAS. This can be any old computer which you have laying around. Now, I found this old vintage computer from the year 2000. It is 20 years old, and I decided to clean it up, to remove all the components from inside, and to install yeah, as you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4 hard drives in this NAS, a little one and 3 classic hard drives. Those are 7,200 RPMs, rotations per minute hard drives, which I really like. It is very fast. Don't underestimate the old hard drives. They still work very fast. Now let's have a look inside. I removed the because originally this was just bear with me one second here. Originally this was a Pentium 4, as you can see here, with an old gigabyte motherboard. Now what I did, I removed the Pentium 4, and just bear with me one second here. Pentium 4. My Pentium 4 was an LGA 775. This was the old motherboard socket, which looked like this. And I decided to install an Haswell micro architecture motherboard, which has an LGA 1150, which looks like this. Now, in my case, if we go back to our photo and go to the next photo, yeah, I decided to put an Intel LGA 1150 processor on it, the 4970 i7 with 32 gigabytes of memory. I'm using here the one-way cooler, the one ventilator cooler, the liquid cooler, and I decided underneath to install also an extra fan ventilation, so that the air can flow from this side to outside the case. And I removed all the brackets so that the warm air can go outside. And on the top I installed another 3 hard drives. These are SSDs, as you can see, of 500 gigs each. That is nice to create another logical volume or RAID. Here, as you can see, another ventilator, which serves to bring the hot air outside of the case. Now, I installed another ventilator on the top, so that the 4 hard drives, the mechanical hard drives, can also be cooled. This little gadget here is to normally was for LED lights, but I'm not using the LED lights. I'm using this just to level up the speed, the rotation speed of the fans, so that it can cool even more, which is really nice. So here you have a picture of my 4 hard drives, sorry, 3. Yeah, because this is just a plastic part. Okay, so this one here is a little hard drive, but very huge hard drive, 4 terabyte. This one is a standard 4 terabyte hard drive, and a classic hard drive. And I'm using those two into a RAID 0, so that will give me a total of almost 8 terabyte of data, which I can use for the NAS. Now here you have a picture of my ventilator. Since the screws were not holding at any place, I was unable to fix it like this, so I decided to use double tape on this fan, and I attach it to 1, 2, 3, 4 places so that it can stuck onto the metal of the bare metal case. Here's another photo of my cooling. I also gently checked the cables so that they won't touch. The important thing here for me was that I was installing the cables as properly as possible as I could, so that the cables won't be touching any of the components, also not the memory. And yeah, so as you can see, it's a little bit a jet way how these cables are installed, but I try to install them as clean as possible. Now I'm using also a graphics card here because I had one laying around, the RX 580. Normally you really don't need an extra graphics card because you could use the internal Intel graphics card, which is already good and delivered with your motherboard. But I thought I want this NAS to be running really smoothly. Even if I log in locally on this NAS, I want this to log in super fast. So I decided to install a graphical card anyway, even if I know that there are no graphical calculations made. I decided to install a GPU on this NAS. Now let's have a look here, another photo of my NAS. You can see a graphics card, the CPU, cooler, and CPU, and 32 gigs of RAM, which is really nice. And on the top we have our power supply and our SSDs. Here another picture of my ventilator, which is installed right here on the top. On the back side of the NAS, I'm using of course the power supply and a network cable, which is important, the USB stick which you create for the disk station manager. It always has to be inside the machine. You never have to take it out, because otherwise your NAS will dysfunction, will not work. This USB stick must stay at all times inside your NAS. And here we have an HDMI cable for my graphics card, if I have the necessity to log in into my NAS. On my computer screen I have 2 or 3 HDMI connectors, and I'm using those. HDMI 1 for my normal computer, HDMI 2 for this NAS, HDMI 2, and yeah, so I'm also using a mouse and a keyboard, although it is not really necessary, but only in the beginning when you install the NAS. It could be, yeah, it is necessary to partition your hard drives with Linux, for example. You can use the keyboard and the mouse. Now let's continue here. I'm using, instead of the normal screws, because these screws here were normal gray normal screws which you cannot remove by hand, but with these thumb screws you can easily remove the screws at any time when you need to look into your NAS or have access into your NAS, which is really nice. Now that's basically it. My photos of the NAS. You can see the SSDs, the hard drives, the normal hard drives, the extra ventilator which I installed, the cable management, the jetaway, and yeah, extra fan here, and the brackets I removed, like I told you before, so that the warm air can circulate outside. Alright, so now let's have a look again at our wiki and the NAS. Now, what do you need exactly for software to download this, to make this possible? I decided to install Disk Station Manager, which is a system from Synology. Specifically the software which is installed on the Disk Station DS918 Plus, this NAS here. How does this software look? I already got it installed, so I just want to show you guys how this looks. Let's go ahead and let's log in into our NAS. Enter your extremely secure password. Now, as you can see, the NAS looks like this, and it comes with a package center. From here you can install the software, which is really handy to have for your network file operations. Okay, now if we go to control panel, and if we have a look at basic mode, it looks like this. If you click here on advanced mode, it will give extra options. Let's check the version here. It's DSM 6.2.2. Before I had 6.2.1 or even lower, 6.1.7, but I decided to update that manually, and I will show you later how you can do that. Okay. Now this NAS comes with the info center. An info center gives you the information about your hardware. Since my hardware is not physically this NAS here, but it is an i7, which I showed you before, the Baremetal Z997, which I showed you before. This is my hardware, the C97. This is normal, it will not recognize it, but that's okay. I mean, we know that the physical memory is 32 gigs, that's good. Normally I've got 8 cores, but it says here 4 cores. I can live with that. No, and then it will give the rest of the information. Now if we go to storage, we can see here that I created a redundant array of independent disk, which is a RAID 0. Yeah, RAID 0, storage pool 1, and my SSDs are still available. Should be 3 in total. I wonder where the third one disappeared. I wonder why there are only 2 SSDs recognized. I have 3 in total. That's weird. Let's try to reboot the server and see if 3 are recognized. Alright guys, so I just rebooted the NAS, and now let's see again. I checked the cables. I turned off the NAS and checked the cables of the SSDs. I was suspecting one of the cables was maybe not properly attached, so let's try this again now to log into our NAS and see. As you can see here, attention, system partition failed. Now how can we fix that? By going to Storage Manager right here, and okay, system is healthy but failed to access the system partition. Please repair it by clicking here. Now if we have a look first at how this our system looks like, we got used drives 2, which are the 2 or 4 terabytes, and unused 3, which are our SSDs, and one of those needs attention. Now can I see which one that is? Let me check here. This one is, those 2 are working normally. That's good. We're using those for our NAS, and one of those is not working normally. This one here, system partition failed, is one of the SSDs, as you can see, which has failed. Now let's try to repair it. If we go here and click on repair, fail to access the system partition. The fail could result from bad sectors on all system detected on the system. Please suggest you repair, which will not affect your data. However, still we recommend backing up the data. Of course, you always need to back up if something like this happens. When you remove drives, please note that at least one system drive should be kept for the system function normally. Okay, let's repair. Now it's repairing, and then suddenly the system is healthy again. If I go to my SSDs, yeah, it's working perfectly fine now. And if I go again and log out, and if I log back in again into the NAS, enter your extremely secure password. Yeah, now the system health is good. Your disk station is working well. Oh, that's amazing. Now we got a package center, which I showed you before, with all the packages which you can install. You can make your own proxy server, photo station. It's got no limits. You can do anything you want with the server, which is really nice. Now let's continue with the control panel. We got here all these options here. I'm not going there into detail, but all the options, they can, by clicking one of the DSM on the DSM help, you will have help if you need extra help or information about file station, for example. I'll just go here and type in file station, and it will explain to me how to use file station and how to change privileges. Step by step it will explain me how to do that, which is really nice. Alright, so that's already all. Everything is included in this software, which is really nice. Now let's have a look at Info Center here. We have version 6.2.2, update 5. Alright, our storage is working normally now. We got our 3 mechanical hard drives, which are recognized, and our 3 SSDs. They are also recognized. Noticing here that the temperature is 104 Fahrenheit for the mechanical. They get a little bit hotter. And the other ones here 38. Okay. Now we have here service. We can enable and disable the services. We can add an SSH server, telnet server. You can add a FTP server. You can do anything you want. Synology account. Okay. Now, without further ado, let's have a look at the software which we need to make this Synology software work. I'm going to show you step by step how to do that. Without further ado, let's begin. Now let's have a look at the CPU ID software. This is the CPU which I'm using on the first computer, which is by accident the same processor like on the NAS, exactly the same Intel Core i7-4790K. It's got the socket 1150 LGA, and if we have a look at the main board, I'm using the Z97 Extreme 6, and on the NAS I've got exactly the same motherboard with chipset Haswell. And if we have a look at the recommendation of the how to create the floppy and the list, you will see DS918, this one here, has Haswell. There's required architecture Haswell, so we have Haswell on the NAS also. Memory 32 gigs at DDR3, and yeah, doesn't matter which brand you will use for your memory, as long as it's DDR3. It has to fit your motherboard. It can also be DDR4 if you got a more recent motherboard. Anyways, now let's continue with the recommendations on how to make this USB stick. Now we will need two USB sticks, one to make the loader, which is the USB stick which stays all the time into our NAS, and I highly recommend to make a second USB stick, which will be Linux Mint in this case. You could also use your favorite Linux distribution. I like Linux Mint because it has gparted already included, which is this program here to partition your hard drives, and this is very important for the preparation of our installation. Now if we have a look at the Xpenology website, this is the website on which we can find the USB loader. This is essential to boot onto bare metal hardware. Even if it's not from Synology, it will boot onto our non-Synology hardware. Now we are using this Synology software here, which corresponds with this hardware. You could also use this one here, which is the bigger brother, the DS3617. It has a capacity of 12 hard disks. But as you can see in our on our motherboard, we also had a huge capacity to add more hard drives on there. So here we already have 3, and here another 3 SSDs, and I still got place left onto the motherboard's the SATA slots, which you cannot see here because the graphics card is in front of it, but I got in total 10 slots available. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 10 SATA slots are available. So we got in total now 6 occupied, 4 are still available now at this time. 4 are still free. Alright, let's close this up here. Right. Now you want to go ahead and download this then, and here is the recommendation of the architecture. If you got another motherboard, an AMD motherboard for example, Pile driver, Then you should go to the wiki pile driver, and here you can see what kind of socket is compatible with that. AM3 Plus, FM2, FS1, FP2. Let's go back here. Or maybe you have a NI Harlem motherboard, then that will be Intel Core i7 with LGA 1156 or 1366, 1568, 988. If you got one of these motherboards, then you want to go ahead and try the Nehalem USB stick, which is this one for the 3617, and the 3617 will look like this. So so that will emulate the software which runs on this hardware. Okay, now let's continue with the next session here. We also need to download the second file, which is the PAT file. PAT file, and that you can find on the Synology website itself. Now let's start by creating the first disk. If I make a new folder here, starts from the beginning, and let's call it NAS DS918 Plus. Put it here. Here we will put all our files. Now here we'll put all our files in the directory. Now let's start by downloading this file here, the bootloader V104B for DS918 Plus. Click on download. It's downloading with Mega NZ. Download this file. And save it on the directory which we just created, this one here, NAS DS918 Plus. Okay, that's the first file. Now the second file which we need to download is the version of the DSM which we want to use. Now I'm trying to use the 6.2.2. So how will you do that? You go to the official Synology website, to the download center. Now we select the product. We are using a NAS, and the model is DS918 Plus, this one here. And as you can see here, it's already on 6.2.2. So just want to go ahead and click on download the PAT file. It's the latest version, and let's put that also in NAS DS918 Plus. This directory here. I had this directory, I don't want to mix them up. Let's call it backup. So I know that was a backup, and this one was the new one. Alright, now as you can see here, we got the two files downloaded, the bootloader to create the USB stick, and the file to install it manually. I will show you how to do that. So extract the zip file here, the Synoboot, into the directory, just like that. That will give a Synoboot image. Now you will need an empty USB stick, so let's go ahead and let's insert an empty USB stick. If it's not empty, then format it. And you will use a Rufus, so you need to download the Rufus from the Rufus website. Let's see if we can download it. Rufus.io. So Rufus.ie. Okay. From the Rufus.ie website, just go ahead and download that, install that, and Once it is installed, you want to go ahead and insert a disk, start Rufus. Now before creating the disk, now here comes an important step. Before creating the USB stick, we need to modify this file, because we need a few things to modify in this file, and I will show you how to do that. So okay, so we got the bootloader, that's good, and we have to determine the VID and the PID of the flash drive onto which it is inserted. Now that's the next step. How can we identify the VID and PID? Now there is Chip Genius to check your VID and PID, but there is another way to identify your VID and PID. If you got Windows 10, just go ahead and double click USB mass storage device. That will bring up this screen here, and here you can see also the VID and the PID of your USB stick. Alright, so just mark it onto a piece of paper and put that aside. It's relatively easy. There is a program which is called Chip Genius. Just double click it and it will search it for you. And on this side you can see VID 0, DD8 and PID 205. So we need those two numbers. Just copy them onto a paper, write them down on the paper, and just write them down. Alright, then you can close this up. And let me just check here. Yeah, we needed this. Now you will also need a program called OSF mount, and OSF mount, with this program we can mount the image. So let's do that. Go ahead and download OSF mount, install it and open it up. It will give you this screen here, mounted virtual disk, mount new. Now here we select our image. Go to our directory, which is not the backup but this one here, and we choose the image, which is this one here. Open it up, click on next. Now you have to click the first partition, partition 0, and next, and remove the V from read only because we want to modify it. Click on mount, you get this thing here now. This line, just double click it and it will open into Explorer. Double click grub, you see the grub config file, right click on it. Be sure that you have installed Notepad++. If it's not the case, then go ahead and download it from the Notepad++ website and install Notepad++ and then edit with Notepad++. Now we wrote down on the paper the VID. We need to modify them into the values which we found before. In my case it's 0DD8. The PID was 205 in my case. In your case it will be a different number, so you have to modify these two numbers here. Now the serial number of your Synology NAS, that can be found onto the serial number generator, which is right here, Xpenology new serial number generator. Don't worry if the 918 is not in the list, just leave the number as is. If you happen to make the USB for 3617, then you're going to use this number here, for example. If you got a 15, you're going to generate this number here and use that one. If you want to install the 916, you're going to generate and use this one here. Alright, the MAC address will be in the software Synology Assistant. If if I just start it up, then the MAC address can be found here, and the MAC address can also be found on if you go to command prompt and you just type in ipconfig space /all, and then they will give you a list, and you will have their physical address, and that line is then your MAC address. Copy and paste it from there, you will be good to go. Now we leave as is. We only modified the VID and the PID. Depending on the message which you have when you boot with the USB, you want to leave those as is and only add the VID and the PID. Anyways, we will save this file and exit it. Now we can continue with the next step. The next step is to unmount the disk in OSF mount. How do we do that? Just click on dismount all and exit. Yes. Okay, download and install Rufus program, we already did. Make the USB disk. So now we're gonna go ahead, and the file is now modified. We're gonna go ahead and start Rufus, run it, and then select the image. In this case it will be this one, the NAS DS918 Plus. The image is right here. Sign up boot image, open, and just click on start. This will erase all the data. Okay. It will take a few seconds. Just wait patiently. Alright, now once the USB stick has been created, you can click on close. You will see this green line here, it says already. So now we can click on close and go back to our next step, which is to insert the flash drive to the computer on which you want to plan to run the NAS, the Xpenology. Alright. Now let's do that. Let's first of all, we want to right click on the USB here and eject it. It's already ejected. You can just remove it. Now I can install it on new. First I have to power off my old NAS. I will just log in here and power it off. Now let's power it off. Let's do a shutdown. In your case, if you don't have a NAS, the Synology NAS yet installed, then you don't need to do this, of course. But in my case, I already had the NAS installed, so I will power it off. Now the next thing we want to do is to power off our NAS. Just power off the NAS, and let's go ahead and let's boot with the Linux Mint 19 USB disk. If you don't have it yet, you can download it from here, from the Linux Mint website. 19.3 Tricia and Cinnamon 64-bit. I recommend this one. Go ahead and download that. Use Rufus to create your second USB stick, which is Linux Mint. Now without further ado, let's boot from our disk. Alright guys, so once you have inserted the USB stick into the NAS, we want to go ahead and turn on the NAS. Let's do that. And we want to go to our BIOS by pressing the del key, switching over to HDMI 2, which is on NAS, and go into the BIOS. Now the first thing you want to do is to put the boot priority to the USB. As you can see, it is already here, USB, NATAC, yeah. Just check here the hard drives if they are recognized. The first one is our 4 terabyte Western Digital. The second one is our Toshiba 4 terabyte hard drive, and the second one is our 2 gig hard drive, mechanical hard drives. Those three are all 3 mechanical hard drives. And this one is an SSD, SSD, SSD. So 3 mechanical hard drives and 3 SSDs. Alright, so be sure that the USB is on first boot and the rest is disabled. Okay, now let's press F10 and yes, and let's boot from the USB. If you immediately press arrow down, you will get this screen here, or just enter. It will start from Linux Mint. Just press enter. It will boot into Linux Mint. This is the Linux Mint installation. Alright, so from here you want to go ahead and click on start, and then you just type in gparted. There you go, and you press enter. It will give you the gparted screen with the hard drives. Well, let me just zoom it in for you guys. You can see what it is. Now here you can do the selection of your drives. I already had once the Synology NAS software installed, the DSM 621, and then I updated it to DSM 622, but I want to remove that. Just for the purpose of this video, I want to start on new. Delete all the partitions, if you can, of course, because some of the partition cannot be removed, and I'll show you later how to force remove them. B, just remove them, just remove all the partitions. C also. Just want to do a clean install. Now here are SSDs. I want them also to remove. E and F. Alright, so remove as much as possible as you can, and then apply. Now, as you can see, there is still some traces left, which is not removable, but we will force remove it by installing once, by starting the installation of Linux Mint. So we start the installation, and then after we cancel it. I'll show you how to do that. So go here, not install none of the software, something else, which is important. Now here you can remove all the partitions. Remove the swap partition. Yeah, now it's completely free. You see, remove this partition here on B. 2 times 4 terabytes here. Remove this one. Now we are force removing the swap files. Remove them all. This one also. Now everything is clean. 4 terabyte, 4 terabyte, 2 terabyte. Those are the mechanical hard drives, and the 3 out of 500 gigs are SSDs. Now let's just suppose I want to install it on the first one. Let's do a quick add of root. Add of root, and the second one I install swap. Swap area. Just like that, root and swap. Now if I click install now, continue, blah blah. Type in NAS, tell you extremely secure password. Just let it install like this. By installing Linux Mint, it will erase all the swap partitions, it will force erase all the swap partitions, and then after that we go again back into gparted, then we can clean all the drives. So the way to use gparted is just a way to force partition the drives, to clean the drives before we can install the NAS. Right, so let's do now restart now. Let's boot again into our Linux Mint disk. Pressing F11. Okay, now let's go to USB, press enter again, start Linux Mint. Now let's see if I can boot now to the Linux Mint. Alright, let me just go ahead and go to the gparted again. Yeah. Just put it into the screen like this. Now, let's go ahead and let's continue by erasing the disks. So you want to go ahead and delete it. I want to make a clean install. This is the first one. The second disk, I want to delete it also. First you will disable or swap off the swap file. Just do a swap off and then you can delete it, just like that. C, we also want to delete, it's already deleted. D, it's already deleted. E, F, G not, because that's our USB drive. You don't USB stick, you don't want to touch. So let's apply these two things here. Now everything is clean. You see, A, B, C, D, E, and F. So all 6 drives have nothing on it, are completely clean, unallocated. Now, important thing to do here is also to prepare the partitioning table. I always like to do that. So click on Device, Create Partition Table, and just choose MS-DOS, just like that. Go to apply, that's one. The second one, same thing. Device, create partition table, MS-DOS, apply. The third one, same thing. Device, partition table, MS-DOS, apply. And we continue with number 4. Device, create partition table, apply. SDE, same thing. Partition table, apply. F. Device, create partition table, apply. Great, now all our 6 disks are completely free and unallocated. And now what we can do is to install the NAS properly. So we will close this, we will remove the, we'll do a shutdown, and we will remove the disk and install the 6.2.2 USB. 6.2.2. Just bear with me 1 second. I will remove the Linux Mint USB stick and insert the DSM 6.2.2, this one here. Okay, now just bear with me 1 second. I will insert it on the back side of the NAS so that we can go ahead and turn it back on. We turn our vintage NAS or Jetto vintage NAS, turn it back on. So let me zoom it for you guys. Press F11 and go to your Matak USB. Just choose USB. You don't need to choose UEFI, just choose USB and let's boot. And that screen was very fast. I want you to just want you to look again, because that was so fast. It's a little bit boring. Is it so fast? Let's try that again. By resetting my NAS, I got here a reset button. I got here my reset paperclip. This is my reset paperclip, which I use to reset my NAS. Okay, let's reset it once. Reset. Now let's try and see if I can press the F11. Yeah. Okay, now that was just arrow down, the arrow down key. Now this is our disk which we created, the 6.2.1, 6.2 bare metal with June's mod version 1.04b. This is the one we need. This one is for other purposes. If you want to reinstall that installation was not going well, you want to try again and you want to force reinstall it, you choose the second option. This is not the case. And the third one is for virtual machine, which is also not the case. So we want to choose the first option here and then press enter. If you cannot choose it or do not have the time to choose it, don't worry, it will just drop into the screen here, and from here you can switch back to your HDMI 1, which is your first computer, first PC, like I do here. You see HDMI 1, and then I confirm, go back into my Windows PC, and from here I can start Synology Assistant. It will search it for me. Yeah, it will search it for me. But what I need to do is to find and just open the web browser and type in find.synology.com, and that will bring up this screen right here. You see? Okay, I will close now this window. We continue on the computer. Alright, so once we have booted into, once we had reinitialized our hard drives and rebooted from our USB stick, we come to this screen here. As you can see, it recognizes our Baremetal NAS. In this case, we are emulating the DS918 Plus. And we can go ahead and click on Connect. I have read and agreed to the terms and click on OK. Just wait patiently and set up your Synology now, which is really nice. Okay, now let's set up. Let's click on Setup. Now here it will ask you to install the Disk Station Manager, which is the DSM, which we downloaded before. And you remember we put this in here, in this directory, the DSM, the pod file, this one here, the 24922. So what we will do, we will install it manually. We'll point to that file. Just click on Manual Install, Browse. Where is it? Not the backup, but this one here. Yeah, and the pod file, this one, the 24922. Just click on Open and go ahead and click on Install now. It recognizes the 6 disks which we reinitialized. Will be removed during installation. All data will be removed. Are you sure you want to proceed? Yes. All data on these hard disks will be removed. I know. Now, there you go. It starts to initializing and formatting the system. Now, if for some reason your installation blocks or hangs at 56% by giving errors, error number 13, that it cannot continue, don't panic. You just have to reinsert the OSF mount information, VID, PID numbers. Sometimes you just have to omit the serial number and the Mac OS address, your Mac OS address. And then second time when you reboot, then we'll just continue the installation. Okay, now we'll give it 10 minutes and then I will be back to you. Alright, so now we can go back from our Internet Explorer to Firefox. Let's go to Firefox. Let's see our disk station. But if you don't know the IP address of your disk station, if it's not found some way, you can try to install the Synology Assistant. This program you can download from the official Synology website, and it will help you to search where your disk station is. So in this case, it is right here at 101. It is ready. I got even the version indication 6.2.2, and it's the DS918 Plus, which is really fantastic. Alright, so now I will close this down and go back to my Firefox. Oh, I think I have too much Firefoxes open. Let me just close a few of those. Yeah, this is the one you need. So if you type in the 101 address, the address which is indicated on Synology Assistant, you will get the first screen, welcome screen of create your administrator account. Below info will be used to manage your Synology DS918 Plus. Now let's call this puppy NAS 2020. Something like that. Username, let's keep it easy and simple. Enter your extremely secure password. And also for the second confirmation. Alright, let's keep it simple here. It will ask you to set up a quick connect. You don't need to do that. Normally you can just do within existing Synology account, and otherwise you can create a new one. Just put in your email address, etc. You can create an account, or you can skip this step. Let's skip this step for now. Okay, let's take a quick guided tour. Share my device network location to allow me to locate via the find.synology.com. Okay, we need to click this and then click on go. Got it. Not now. And there we have our Synology NAS, which is really nice. It's working already good, in a healthy, good condition. The disk station is working well. If we have a look at the control panel, you can go here to advanced mode and info center. As you can see, the 32 gigs are recognized, 6.2.2. Yeah, that's great, you know. Storage, there's no volume yet in the system, but 6 disks are being recognized. So now you want to go ahead and make a RAID 0. So let me show you quickly how to do that. And now let's do that here. How can we do that? Click on here and go to Storage Manager. Okay, once you are in Storage Manager, you want to click on Volume. We got unused drive 6 in total, 3 SSDs and 3 HDDs. Now there's no volume in your system. Click on Create. And let's do a custom one because I want to make a RAID 0. This type, single volume, no, higher flexible. Let's do the higher flexible one now. Create a new storage pool. Better performance. Okay, let's try this one. It already comes automatically with RAID 5. That's when you got minimum of 3 disks. You could make a RAID 5 of the SSDs. RAID 5 is ideal when space and cost are more important than performance. So if you got high critical data on it, you could do a RAID 5. Now what we could do is the 3 SSDs we put on RAID 5, which are these 3 here. Let's put them on RAID 5. All data will be erased. Okay. Alright, storage pool 1. Next. Now I could use PTRFS, which is a file system of Synology itself, or you could go with the ext4 for the operating systems of Linux. Apply, and there we go. It's creating our RAID 5. Alright, meanwhile, while it is creating the RAID 5, we can create another volume. Let's do a custom one. I would like to do a new storage pool, better performance, and RAID 0. 2 drives minimum. Non-critical system. Okay, let's do next. And let's take only those 2 drives, the 4 terabytes, which will give us a total of 8 terabyte of RAID 0. Okay. No, not a bad sector check. I can do that later. Alright, pool 2 is RAID 0. And next. ext4, next, and apply. So meanwhile, while it's creating volume 1 on the background, we are creating volume 2. Volume 2 is already done, I think. Yeah. And now let's see. That's nice. Here we have the information of 2 pulls. The first one was a RAID 5 and the second one was a RAID 0. That's really nice. All the disks are working normally, and yeah, that is really great. I got 2 pulls here, as you can see. Only one drive is just a spare drive. You can use that later for other things, other data. The system is healthy. Alright, now let's go to update and restore. Just want to check here which version we have. DSM 6.2.2 update 5. Your DSM version is up to date. That's great. Now if we go to Info Center, let's have a look here. Everything is recognized. The fact that this is Celeron is normal. We know that this is not a Celeron. It is a 4790 with 8 cores, not 4. But that's okay. I mean, that's just the software, which thinks, the software thinks that that our hardware is this one here. But in reality, we are using our bare metal system, or Jetto bare metal system, which we built manually, which is really amazing. I think this is one of the nicest, this is one of the most exciting builds I've ever made. Building my own NAS, network attached system. Isn't that beautiful? Alright guys, that concludes this video for today. I hope that it was helpful for you in a way to build your own NAS. And don't worry if you don't have exactly the same hardware like I do. It will work on most of the Intel and AMD hardware, even if it's old hardware. Just give it a try. If the disk from DS918 is not working, try to make a disk of 3615 or the 3617. You will have even more capacity to add more hard drives in your system, which is always nice and handy to have. I want to mention that the hardware, this hardware cage which I was using, I used it from the Graphite 760T, which I had before, and which I'm still using as my primary computer. But here you can see 2 hard drive cages, and one of those I'm using now in my NAS, in my vintage NAS, which is really nice. Alright guys, that concludes this video for today. I hope it was helpful for you. If it was, hit that like button, and don't forget to click on the notification bell button. Thank you for watching and stay safe.